Alright, what's going on, guys? This is Boxing Genius here, and today we will talk about Pacquiao versus Ugas, a post-fight analysis, post-fight thoughts, whatever you want to call it. Now, first of all, it was a beautiful performance by Ugas. I'm not going to take anything away from the dude. I think that at best, Pacquiao won 6 rounds, okay? So I think at best that could have been a draw, and I scored it a draw. However, I wouldn't be mad at the people who scored it 7-5 in favor of Ugas, because Ugas pretty much, surprise everyone with his movement and with his counter punching. Now, the main reason why Pacquiao couldn't get past or Pacquiao couldn't enter was because of the lead hand of Ugas, which again, if you guys ever fought the opposite stance, the jab is kind of abandoned, okay? But if you think about it, although you can't hit the center with the jab, you can hit the side of their face because it's much closer. That's why if you argue with me that Spence is gonna have a better showing and Spence is going to have a more dangerous jab than Ugas, that's nonsense. And the reason why is because in a southpaw versus southpaw matchup, the jab works differently compared to orthodox versus southpaw. If you think about it, the lead hand of the orthodox fighter is much closer to the right side of the face than a southpaw, okay? So it's much easier to jab them over the top of their lead hand. And as we all know, Pacquiao's lead hand is not necessarily in his face all the time because he's used to moving his head and all that, but he didn't do that in this fight, so he's not really used to parrying those jabs because, like I said, in orthodox versus southpaw matchups, that is kind of abandoned. And I think the usage of the jab and the reliance of Ugas on the jabs kind of caught him off guard, so he wasn't able to respond on time. All Ugas had to do was to paw with his lead hand first, and then throw a jab over the top of Pacquiao's lead hand. Number 2, the overhand right, which, again, was on the side of the face. Pacquiao didn't really see that coming. There are very few guys, even Marquez, he doesn't have that kind of overhand right. There are times where I was scared because it looked like Ugas was gonna hit Pacquiao with his wrist, because that's his kind of right hand, He hits Pacquiao with the thumb part of the boxing glove, and it's a very unorthodox punch. Personally, I don't think it's powerful. I've taken that punch before. It's not that powerful, okay, but it catches you off guard. And there are times when he hit him with his fist. That's really the powerful one. But most of those shots, most of those overhand rights that Ugas landed was slaps. It was arm punches. If you look at it, it was arm punches. Yes, it pushed Manny Pacquiao back, but it was arm punches. The only thing, or the only overhand rights that really did the damage was when he turned the punch over and he hit Pacquiao with his fist. Okay, and then on the way in, Pacquiao got countered with the right hook, which I've talked about in my prediction of this. I've said Ugas was gonna win 4 to 6 rounds, which again in my scorecards I had it 6-6, but I wouldn't be mad at people who said 7-5 in favor of Ugas. So that's it. Anyway, let's move on to, that's really it, countering Pacquiao on his way in with the right hook, keeping Pacquiao at bay with his long lead hand, jabbing over the top of his lead hand, and then the overhand right, of course, the European right hand. Golovkin kind of throws the same thing, he throws it high on the temple. Anyway, let's now talk about what should Pacquiao do after this fight. Personally, I think he should hang it up, not because he cannot beat the other guys anymore, but because he simply took too much damage. And I think if he fights next year, he's still gonna carry that damage in his body that he took from this fight. And it did not just come from the fight itself, it also came from training, It also came from him still training even though there's still a week ahead of the fight. I think he only stopped training around 4 to 5 days before the fight. I'm not exactly sure, but for most fighters, you're supposed to rest a week before the fight, and then 2 weeks before the fight, you're supposed to really lower the training down. And I think that's not what Pacquiao did for this fight. But again, that's not an excuse. That's not a reason for us to discard the performance of Ugas. It was a great performance, but the thing is, it's a replacement, and I'm not being salty here, but Pacquiao could have done a lot better given that he had better preparation. Is he gonna dominate Ugas if he had better preparation? That's a completely different topic. But nonetheless, with the very little preparation that he had, with the very little recovery time that he had, it's not natural for a boxer to still work or to still work out a week before the fight. That's not natural, guys. That's not something that a lot of coaches recommend, but he still did it because he wanted to prepare for this completely opposite fighter. Number one, he has the right hand. Number two, he was a counterpuncher. Number three, he was an orthodox fighter. And number four, he had a different jab. That jab came on the side of the face. It's not a southpaw jab where it comes off the center. So for all of the Spence fans over there who are talking about Spence's jab, oh, if it was Spence there, he would kill Pacquiao with his jab. It's a different kind of jab. It comes from the center, and I think Pacquiao will have an easier time with that compared to the orthodox jab, compared to the jab of someone who's right-handed. You know, and the punch selection is going to be a lot different. The look. Just the look of the punch is going to be a lot different. It's going to be much easier for Pacquiao to read the punches of Spence compared to Ugas. Ugas has uppercuts. Ugas has right hooks. Ugas knows how to move back and then counter you. Okay? So that's why I said he was going to be a much harder fight. I rewatched the fight already. I still have it 6-6. But again, I wouldn't be mad at you if you scored it 7-5 in favor of Ugas. That is 7-5 at best in favor of Ugas. There is no way that he won 8 rounds or more. Anyway, I think Pacquiao should hang it up. I mean, next year is going to be the election over here in the Philippines, so maybe you want to focus on that. Maybe you want to focus on promoting Pacquiao, Casimero, all of these guys, and I'll be really happy to see that, you know. I'll be happy to see him letting the other Filipino boxers shine. We just saw Pacquiao pull off a very good knockout last night, so I'm sure the momentum is going to carry over for the next couple of months and for the next couple of years. So if Pacquiao can just step aside and then let the other boxers shine who are younger, who are hungrier, I think that's a pretty good idea. And I think that's going to open up a lot of new fan base for the Filipino fans who are just Pacquiao fans. You know, we're going to have Casimero fans, we're going to have Pacquiao fans, all of these younger guys will get their own shine, and they will get their own spotlight in the overseas stage, especially with the guidance of M2 Promotions and Sean Gibbons. This is going to be a really good ride. So that's it, man. I'm not mad at the decision. Again, I have it 6-6. I don't necessarily agree with the 7-5, but if that's your call, if that's what you saw, good for you. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and great performance by Ugas, man. I think Pacquiao should hang it up. Peace.